What's up, guys? It's Ruse here with The Real Masculine, and welcome to episode number 7. I'd like to introduce to you guys Patrik Karlsson, who is a self-love and happiness coach. Patrik, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. That was an awesome introduction.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on. I know I've joined your group and have been seeing a lot of your great posts, a lot of value you're offering. And I know you've seen a lot of my posts. And this is the first time we're actually getting a chance to speak one-on-one in person or through video chat. And so I'm really excited to interview you and share some of your amazing perspectives with my group. Let's start with the simple, what is self-love and happiness? Like, how do you see the average person that you work with or that you know is in your group, or just average person view self-love and happiness? And then tell me how you view it.
Most people have like a condition to feel like self-love is like when you love someone else, but a lot of relationships is actually just codependence. But most people can't really love themselves, and most people barely know what you do. So I actually have an exercise in the course where I teach them self-love. And it's funny, you can actually see them feel self-love for the first time and they can cry a little. It's so beautiful. And self-love is basically just complete acceptance of yourself, honestly. And the feeling that you are enough. Because all problems and everything about you that's bad comes from the feeling that you are not enough.
Mm. Where do you think the source of that feeling of not enoughness comes from? Like, where do you see people, what do you think is the source that causes people to seek happiness or love from outside of themselves?
Well, I know it's from the childhood because I studied this for so long. Like everything that happens in childhood, doesn't even have to be trauma, but there can be some small things that triggers you and you can't handle the emotions and feelings then. So you just bottle it up and then you get conditioned that your parents don't love you at all times. So you have to act like a certain way to feel loved. And then you're just not good enough because you're only good enough if you do like the cool things. If you like get like an A on the test, or if you do good in football, but whenever it goes bad, your parents don't love you anymore because they are angry at you. Of course, they actually love you, but you interpret it that way. And the coolest thing is it's not actually about what happens when you're young. It's about how you perceive what happens when you're young. And they actually did an experiment of this. There were like two twins, and one twin saw like the bad trauma from childhood as a good thing. He learned and he was like, I'm going to be better than my parents and everything. And the other saw it like, trauma, I'm going to be a loser all life. And their lives were completely different 20 years ago. And that was the only difference. One was super successful, had a family. The other one was like broke, alcoholic. And that was the only difference. They saw it differently. So it's really cool.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that it's not so much the events that happen in our lives. It's the meaning that we make out of them when we're like little kids. So
Yeah,
when we perceive the meaning of an event to be traumatic, it means we're not good enough. It means we're somehow bad or unworthy of love. Then what we create in ourselves is some sort of belief or some system that recreates that over and over again because that's what we made it mean. And on the flip side, if you make it mean that, let's say you made it mean nothing, or maybe you made it mean that this inspired you to become better or to love more, or that it was good for you that it happened so that you could grow, then you'll create a belief system that supports that and thus create success through those types of events in your life instead of rejecting them or running away from them.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. It's interesting you brought up like the childhood experience. I think a lot of times so many men and women, they don't see their perspective as a childlike experience or a childlike perspective. They seem to view it from the adult perspective and get angry at themselves or beat themselves up. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that happens so much?
I just think people have a problem forgiving themselves. And I've done this exercise with so many clients. All you do is you write a forgiveness letter to yourself and your childhood. And it's so powerful. Like I've seen people cry, tears out, and you're like, I forgive you. Like if you saw a kid be like as a kid like you getting abused, not abused, but would you say like you're useless, you're not enough? No, you would hug that kid. You would like share the love with that kid. You're your own bully. Stop being your own bully. You would not bully other kids. Why would you bully yourself? Like, this question is so funny. If you were your own best friend, like your brain was your own best friend, how long would you stay with that friend?
Yeah, like forever, obviously. You want to be with them as much as you can.
Yeah, but most people are like, oh, my friend just bullies me all day long. And you're like, I don't want to be with this friend, because that's how most people treat themselves.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think for most of my life that was the way I viewed it. I looked at the voice in my head as like the biggest bully, or the guy that I was afraid to face. I didn't want to face that guy because he was always beating me up. And you're right. As soon as you make friends with that part of you, it stops to have power over you. You know, that when it says, you know, things that are unkind, it doesn't faze you the same way as it used to faze you when you were taking it very seriously, what that voice was saying. Yeah. So tell me more about this forgiveness letter. Like, that seems like an interesting segue here. Like, what are the components that you see that help someone create that forgiveness in their heart through that letter? Like, what is it that is actually happening for them that's allowing them to shift their perspective?
I think it's like, first you gotta look back at your childhood. You really gotta go back to your memories. You can't just write it on a computer like, I forgive myself, because there's no emotion in it. You have to actually really, like, you can meditate before or whatever, and then you just write a letter like, I'm sorry I was not good enough for my parents, and they write everything down, like, I'm sorry I did not act as I thought I should, and everything. Because once you forgive something, then you can finally start accepting it. But until you forgive it, you can never accept it. So you have to forgive yourself. So it's so powerful, and it's so simple exercise. Like, it's all you have to do is literally take a letter and write down everything that you think are bad about yourself, and then forgive that. Even in your present day, like, I'm forgive myself for being bad against my ex, and forgive myself for all the past. And that frees you, and that gives you like the possibility to accept it. Before you forgive it, you can't accept it.
100%, man. I totally agree with you. I look at it as not an intellectual exercise, but it's very experiential exercise. Yeah. You're going through and you're viewing that pain again from a different perspective, from maybe a more present perspective. And what I see happen for most guys that I give similar experiential exercises to is that what ends up happening is they get clarity. They're able to see it still from the first angle they saw it from that caused the pain, but they're able to start to slowly feel all the other sides of what could have possibly happened in that moment. And when that happens, they start to feel differently about it naturally. It's almost like a very natural letting go process that just experientially happens on its own.
A beautiful process.
Yeah. So tell me a little about your story, Patrik. I'd love to hear more about what it was like for you growing up, and what was kind of your breaking point that led you down this path to start to find your own inner happiness and self-love.
Well, the first part was, I did have a quite good childhood. I think I was born early because I've done some time travel on myself, and I see myself as in an incubator, but that can also be an illusion of the mind. So I can't be completely sure. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I had quite a good childhood, but I was like the chameleon. I could fit in wherever I wanted. Like, I could be with the cool kids in school. I could be nerds. I could fit in wherever I want, because I never truly had my own identity. I just joined wherever I felt I was most loved, pretty much. And then at the later years, well, like up to like 15 was okay. Then I started getting depressed because everyone started like talking to girls, and I was scared shitless of talking to girls.
Yeah.
And I just got friend zoned by everyone. It was like awful. And it got to the point where I was out at a bar, and this was like one of the breaking points for me. I was out at a bar, I was like 18, and this gorgeous girl come up to me, and she says, "Why are you so shy?" And I'm like, I don't fucking know. And she was like, "What would you tell me if like you could say anything to me?" I said like the most cheesy, disgusting thing ever, and then she just walked away. I'm like, why do I do this? Like, why do I act like this with girls? And that led me to like the journey of the wonderful area of pickup. And don't go into that area, honestly. the manipulating tactics. I read a book that's like literally forbidden, like how cult leaders control people to do suicide. I read that to get laid, and I still did not take any action for like 2 years. So I was still a virgin when I was 20. And then I went on a date because I got really good on text game actually. And I had like, when Tinder was new, I had like this super profile. I get like 300 matches a day. So I could like practice the game and finally get some like confidence in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So I started talking to a lot of girls, but I realized I started acting too cocky because I talked to like this gorgeous girl and she was like awesome, and she's like, no, you're not a virgin. I'm like, no, I'm a virgin. And she didn't believe me. She was like, why do you lie to me? I'm like, I seriously don't lie. I'm a virgin. She's like, no, you're way too confident. And I'm like, fucking hell, this is annoying. So I just went on a date and I used every freaking tactic in the book, and she was like shaking after the date and couldn't even look me in the eye. And then I was like, oh, now I have a girl that loves me. Now I'm going to go into a relationship with the first girl I slept with. So I was with her for like 1.5 years, which was a decent relationship. But it was mostly like me wanting to feel loved. And then we got out of that. And then I found Social Prime, actually, which I took immersion. And the first thing they told me was like, drop everything you know. And I'm like, what? Every tactic? I'm not going to use it. I studied this for 4 years. I'm not going to use it anymore. And I'm like, well, okay, let's try. And then I saw this girl with Budapest, and she was fucking adorable. And I said it like, you're fucking adorable. And I really meant it, like the whole authenticity and everything like you preach. And she melted, like she literally melted. It was such an amazing date. And like, we had like a small relationship in Budapest and super cool. And then I was like, this line works well, because like the old mind, like this line is what does the work. And I'm like, go up to the next guy, you're fucking adorable. And she gets like repulsed, like, what the fuck? I'm like, why?
Yeah. No, it's so funny that you say that, because I've had those experiences as well, where like when I expressed a compliment or like my feelings for the first time and it really hit, I thought, oh, it must have been what I said, not how I said it. It didn't like connecting to that. It was because I was just being in the moment and real. It was like, oh no, it was the words. So I just tried to be like a little robot and say the words, and it just was rejection after rejection after rejection. So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's insane. It's fun because after the first breakup, I became like very dark. I became like super dark. I had no feelings. I was in apathy, and I was literally a robot. And I had sex with a lot of girls actually then, but I started crying during sex. I was like, I can't do this anymore. What the fuck am I doing with my life? I was just hiding it from the pain and everything. But I just realized that I have to like accept this. I have to get through this. And then I went very deep into spirituality, and which I still am. But now I'm at every other area as well, and not only spirituality, because if I'm in divinity the whole time, like super stoned from like meditating, I'm not really in this world. That it's not really hard to do anything with your stone, but you will not do anything. We are sitting there like, You can't connect with people because your energy is always like, but you're not in this world. So
yeah. What do you think was your big turning point? So like the stages you went through were, there was this extreme period of like shyness and feeling like you weren't worthy for women. Then you learned some tactics, and you got matches. You started getting some confidence through texting, and you started going on a couple of dates, and maybe even had sex in a relationship. And then eventually you went into expressing authentically and being more honest. And then you went to spirituality. What was your turning point where maybe everything came together and you were able to move forward with, feeling a sense of balance in, spirituality and your relationships and your connections with women, where you started to feel like, okay, like now I feel like it's kind of all coming together now?
balance was actually quite recently. Like I've always been going in one area at a time, and I need to find this balance and get my brain aligned with my soul and everything. So it was I don't know, 6 months ago maybe or something.
And was there any particular thing or things that happened to you or that you experienced that helped you come to that place? Or was it maybe more of a culmination of a lot of little things? I'm curious, how did it all come about for you, where you start to feel okay, I starting to feel more of this sense of I'm okay everywhere. I got it.
I don't know. It started with like me working out, and I was like only working out because then I lost spirituality because I don't know why I always stopped doing the other things at work. But I'm like, I'm gonna get ripped, and I started getting like a bit ripped, and I'm like, I don't feel good anymore. Why did I stop doing the good things in my life? So I started like really diving deep into what actually have made me feel good through the years and combine them. Like I learned a lot of brain psychology before, and it worked for a while, but you still have shadows. But if you combine like shadow work with like connecting to your authenticity, presence, and spirituality with your brain, you become freaking unstoppable, because then your brain just subconscious just boosts you. Because one of the problems I realized a lot of people have is when they do this like releases thing and they like want to feel good and everything, the subconscious is not with them. And if your subconscious is not with you, every time you're not conscious, it will just take over. So
Yeah. So when you look at, what are the biggest pitfalls you find most guys get into when it comes to their own personal growth? Where do you see guys maybe, I don't want to say make mistakes, but maybe become really unconscious or unaware and then end up hurting themselves or end up struggling more than they need to?
I think a big problem I think people do is they do shadow work before they actually start to develop any self-love. Like I tried it, it's freaking disgusting. You like get into like this terror, pure terror, and you don't have any self-love. You're like doing shadow work in hell. But if you're doing it in the light of love, there's a shadow, but you still have the light. So I think that's a big thing.
And for those that are listening that may not know what shadow work is, can you elaborate and like talk to the guys here about like, what shadow work is, so they maybe know what we're talking about. I know that some of the guys here are probably a little newer to the personal development world.
Yeah, well, I think it was Sigmund Freud who like found the shadow work, and it's basically you have trauma from your childhood, and then if you don't release that trauma, you have it in your body, like it muscle memory, and you can get more tense. I was super tense before. I always walked like this, and now like pretty relaxed all the time because I like released the shadows, and it's basically as you feeling what you're feeling, and then accepting it, releasing it. It's really simple to do, but still not at all.
Yeah, what I look at it as is going to the parts of yourself you're rejecting and learning how to make friends with them. So there's a lot of times some guys I work with maybe are rejecting their sexuality and their sexual desires. Some guys might reject their insecurities or the pains they experienced when they were younger, or maybe they reject their physical appearance in some way. Basically, anywhere you're rejecting yourself energetically or emotionally is an area that would be shadow. It's an area where you can go and shine a light and bring it from rejection into acceptance and get the energy back that you've been holding that rejection down with.
It's funny because I remember I always had super low energy once I started this journey, because I was always like a corpse walking, like. But once you get like develop this energy, like spirituality, get your brain on board with everything, like everything just boosts your energy. Like one of the biggest things I get when I was out, and I still even get it on my TikTok videos, is what the fuck are you taking? Like my eyes are like super big, like super high energy. And I remember it was actually funny because I was with my friend who was like the alpha of the group a long time ago. And I had that super high energy because I started doing spiritual work and everything. And this gorgeous girl come up to him and like, because he's the alpha of the table, like military and everything. And just looks to him like, you're sexy. And then she just turns her head from him and like, boom, what the fuck have you taken? I'm like sitting there, spirit of life, the beauty of life. Like, what the fuck?
Awesome, man. No, it's funny you say that. I think a lot of times, especially before COVID, when I was going out, I would go out sober, and I would, or when I would go out and meet girls in the daytime, I was in a really good mood a lot of those times, and women would ask me like, "Are you drunk?" or like, "What are you taking?" They like couldn't believe that someone just was naturally feeling good or happy in their life and just coming and just being this open, because for the average person, the bar is actually really low. Their expectations are actually pretty low for what's acceptable for someone they would feel attraction for. And this is because they're so used to people being fake. They're just so used to people needing a substance to be high enough to talk to them or to connect to them. And so for a lot of you guys that are listening to this, that struggle, or that you set such a high bar to meet to try to attract women, it's actually not as difficult as you're making it seem in your head. It's very simple if you just allow yourself to just be open and connect with them authentically. That is, if you can give them that, you're giving them more than 85% of guys out there.
You don't have to do more. You have to do less.
Yeah, do less. Exactly. It's do less. It's keep it simple. Simplicity is the key. And speaking of simplicity, walk me through some of the ways you help the guys. You go coach guys and girls, or just guys?
Apparently girls too. I recently got like my friend request for girls. We'll see what happens.
Nice, man. I mean, girls are people too. They deserve happiness and self.
Yeah, I agree.
Why not? Walk me through like maybe one of the key ways you help your clients get into the experience of feeling their presence, or experiencing themselves as they are, or their own self-love. Like, what's one of the ways you help them get through and to like experientially like get there?
Well, actually, I recently changed this up because I was doing one-to-one coaching, but I realized like me doing one-to-one coaching and teaching all the same tools to every single person is not time efficient at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually created a course. So I'm doing like a group course right now with clients, and let's take a new subject every week. Like first one is awareness, then it's like self-love, and it's like shadow work and rewiring your brain. And you have to go through every level. And it's funny because I got this testimonial today and was like, you freaking changed my life. And it sounded so happy. And I started crying. I'm like, fuck, this is so beautiful. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because you give them the tools. And if they want private coaching, we can do it after they have the tools. I think it's better.
Awesome, man. No, I'm curious. I've been playing with this idea lately about the word healing. I find this is a word that is used a lot in our community and is used and thrown around a lot, but I think it's really misunderstood. One of the ways I notice most people think like healing works is that they're broken and then they're going to fix what's broken and they're going to be healed. So that's the way I think a lot like the average person that gets into this community is thinking about it in their head. How do you define healing? What does healing mean to you?
Like fixing what's not broken, like fixing what you think is broken, like the perception that you're broken, fixing that.
Yeah.
Because you're not broken, you're perfect just the way you are. Everything you're insecure about, everything your flaws, how you look, everything is perfect, because otherwise the universe would not have created it.
Yeah. It's beautiful, man. I actually just described this to my girlfriend, and the way I shared it was that you can't heal what's not broken. All your healing, what healing is you changing your perspective from illusion to reality. That's all it is. When you change your perspective from what's an illusion, something you're giving meaning to, something that you're making mean something about you, and you're able to let that go, you've now gone from illusion and you've gone to clarity or reality. And in that sense, you will feel better in your body because you're no longer holding on to a perspective that was a lie. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, actually I agree completely. But it's funny because you get like at different levels. Like you remove one belief, and then you get a little bit better perception, and you get even better and better and better. And you're like, I can't even, if I think back to me like 5 years ago, I don't know if I would recognize myself. Like, I have no idea how I felt, how I looked at life. I just remember it was dark. But I don't know, it feels like every day is like a blessing now. And it's gorgeous.
Awesome.
Everything that's changed is actually perception. Like my life hasn't actually changed that much on the outside because, well, I went only into spirituality for a long time. But like, the whole view of the world and how you act in the world and how you like treat others with your energy and just share the love is so different from being like the grumpy guy that goes, nobody likes me, I hate myself. Like, it's such a big difference.
Yeah, totally. I think there's a lot of spiritual teachers out there that even say this. It's if you want to change your outer world, you need to change your inner world. So if you want to change how the world treats you and how you receive the world, then you got to change your perspective of the world itself. And that happens only on the inside. I'm curious, what is your perspective on a lot of the guys that are out there that are, they're taking in a lot of information. They're like reading all the time. They're studying. They're like trying to add discipline into their life. But, a lot of information they're taking in, but not necessarily taking action in their lives. What would you say are the pitfalls around that? What do you think is like the challenge with that specifically?
I was different, definitely in the, like, what is it called? The shiny object syndrome. You find a new thing, you're gonna like do the new thing all the time, but you never take action. Like when I started this, there were like 2 years me learning dating tactics before actually using any dating tactics. So completely useless information. But you have to take action. Like you have to like develop your energy and everything, but you also have to like take action towards your goals.
What do you think the energy is? What do you think the split is? Like, what percentage do you think someone should spend taking in information versus applying it and going out and getting experiences? What would you say the percentage split would be?
I don't think you need much information, actually. Not to feel good. Like, you don't need that much. You need to learn how like your brain works, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it's just consciousness and awareness and learning more deep stuff and like working out. So it's like I read so many books about everything, and I'm like, I don't use any of them.
So maybe like 5% information, 95% go out and get experiences, something like that.
Yeah. Just learn how to control the brain.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of people, and I think the ego does this, it tricks us into thinking that if we take in more information, then we'll somehow make progress in our lives. And in reality, the only thing that can help you make progress is experience. There's multiple levels of learning, but informational learning, intellectual learning is just surface level. And experiential learning is the deepest. When you get experiences, it hits you at a much deeper understanding where you can actually shift your perspective and actually see growth happen. You can actually feel a sense that something is different inside me. And you can't do that through just taking in information. Now, Patrik, tell me a little bit more about your program. Tell me more about, because I know it's new, you just released it. Tell me more about, if someone came in to work with you, what could they expect? Like, what's the time period? What are the levels they're going to be working with you on? And what would your like ideal person look like that you would want to work with? Tell me more about that.
Well, first, the person needs to be dedicated because the homework is not easy. Like the homework you get every week is not easy. And the program is called Perfect Life Formula, and it's 6, maybe 7 weeks. I'm thinking about adding a week. And where we go through everything, like not the tactics, but the mindset and everything you need to actually know to build your perfect life. I'm not saying you would have your perfect life after, but you would know how to build it. You would start feeling more self-love, start knowing how your brain works and how you can actually rewire your brain. Like I'm doing this a lot right now, and my brain is starting to become more aligned with like my conscious, my soul and everything. And it's so freaking amazing. It just pumps you up. When you're like tired, your brain goes like, no, just keep going, follow your soul. And it's so amazing once those two get aligned. And it's just happiness and self-love. Because everyone asks me how I am so happy, and this program just shares it all, pretty much.
Awesome, man. And I'm curious, when it comes to, I think so many people misunderstand, what happiness really means. They seek it so much on the outside. What is it you're helping guys do, or guys and girls do through your course? What is like the main purpose of how they're going to go through that and see a different perspective at the end?
Well, of course, you will always have ups and downs in your life. I still have them, but you will not be like a roller coaster every day like this. This will not be your emotion. Your emotion would be more like, for me, it can be like 1 month of like pure bliss, and then I go down a bit, and then you go, because you always will have downs. Like you have to accept it. But it's just complete acceptance, and learning how to deal with the shadows, the past, how you feel and what you actually real about you, how to reprogram your mind. And honestly, I'm so proud of this program. Like, I sold so many shitty books before, like Unlock Your Happiness. Like, this is freaking complete shit. I look at it now, but like, what did this even do? All it did was talk about happiness and be happy all the time. Do like whoa to like be happy. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it's cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. It sounds like an awesome program. Before we hop off, I'm curious. Can you share some of your the tools that you use for yourself personally, like part of your share part of your morning routine, or
yeah, for sure.
one exercise that you would recommend to beginners that would help them start to connect with self-love? Any wisdoms you like want to share, or some things like that you could share with the group that might help them get a feel for some of the stuff that you do that works well for you and your team and your clients?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things, I don't actually teach it because it's so simple, but one of my morning routines is always doing Wim Hof, like grounding yourself in the body, like doing breathing exercises. I did a 4-round before, but they removed it from YouTube, so now it's like 7 rounds. So I'm dying. But I'll try to get to like 33 minutes or 3:30 breath hold, and you get so much energy. You become very, very present in the day. And to develop love, you can, honestly, it's quite simple. I did this exercise with my clients, like just close your eyes and focus on your heart and focus on like something very loving memory. And you replay that memory in yourself. You start feeling how that feel, and you start replicating that feeling at all times. It's a bit longer exercise than doing it in 4 seconds, but just holding your hand on your heart connects you with the heart.
No, that's beautiful. I actually have a loving kindness meditation that I do in my mastery course, and it's exactly something similar to this. Is learning how to bring up the energy of love that already exists inside you, through loving others, loving your enemy, loving your inner child. You can actually start to access it. You're right. That feeling of love that just comes directly from your energetic heart right here in the center of your chest. So I'm with you, man. Beautiful. Tell me a little about your group. I know you just recently started a group on Facebook where you're posting a lot of amazing content. Tell me a bit more about the group that you have, and the name of the group, what kind of content you post in there, and then would love to share this with my group. So if anyone wants to, check out your group and your content, we can have them join.
Awesome. Well, the group is called Finally Happy. It's a freaking amazing name. Pierre came up with it, but I'm really happy with that name. And I'm gonna post more videos. I've been a bit inactive because I've been like working on getting my program done before, but I'm gonna post a lot of videos. The latest video I think was like the loop of doom, where you create your own inner hell with the brain and how you can just change it like that. And yeah, welcome to the group. And also I gotta say, like I did your, what is it called? Your darkness energy meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I freaking love it. I've never seen anything like it. It's so awesome.
Nice, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, I kind of came up with it intuitively because I was starting to just go through my own shadowy experiences, and it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one that really brings up sides of you that you don't normally like look at, but they're there. And it's something, man. It's cool. Well, Patrik, thank you so much for for joining me for today's call. I'm really excited to share your wisdom and your happiness with my group. We will post a link to Patrik's group. You said it's called Finally Happy?
Yeah, Finally
Happy. So guys, go out and check out Patrik's group. He's posting a lot of great stuff on self-love and happiness. And thank you again so much for joining me today, Patrik. Really love having you on.
Awesome to talk with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.